I'm PB, and today I'm with Papple, and we're on the.
Choice Band podcast.
And so today is the inaugural episode of this. And today I'm joined by Papple. Do you want to tell everybody about yourself a little bit so they get to know you if they're not around the Metronome community?
Sure. Well, so I'm a player since the first season of Metronome Draft League. Uh, and I won the first season with a dangerously tanky team with Hospitality, Regenerator, basically every annoying ability you could think of stacked on one team. And then I kind of went and lived life for the next 2 seasons, but I'm happy to be back, happy to be here, and I'm ready to talk about this.
Yeah, so this will be really fun. For people who don't know about the Draft League, I'll explain a little bit of that as we go. And then people who also are around for the Draft League, you get to know a little bit more about Papple since a lot of the people are newcomers and haven't had a chance to deal with him. And before we get any farther, I'm PB. If you don't know me at this point, I make videos about Metronome on Instagram. I do battles of it. As I'm recording this, we're I think about 50 off from 10,000. So hopefully we've hit that by the time this comes out. Fingers crossed. If not, we'll just keep chugging along for it. And for the first thing to talk about will be the Draft League. So we are going to be entering the fourth season of it. And so anybody who's curious about what this Draft League is, it is done on Showdown and it is 6v6. But the catch is obviously, if you see my Instagram account, you can only use the move Metronome, which you wouldn't think there's a lot of strategy with it, but there actually is. And there's actually a lot of rules and clauses, which Papple should be the name of multiple of them, coming up with some broken ideas. We should
Absolutely.
we should start with that, Papple. So why don't you tell them about the original rule you got banned with heal clause? Explain that to them.
So, obviously, for those of you that might be newer to the league, you should know about heal clauses in the new regulations. It says you are only allowed to use one Pokemon with any of the following abilities: Regenerator, Hospitality, or Harvest. So, when I was in the first season of this, I opted to go for a very bulky team composition. I picked Sinistcha first, and I went for a Toxic Debris user. I used Glamora, and then I had a Regenerator and an Intimidator. And honestly, you wouldn't really expect it going into it as I guess an untrained eye, but I kind of just curb stomped everyone just by switching. There were like so many games that would just come down to me winning because all their Pokemon run out of PP and just struggle themselves to death. So that's definitely one of the clauses I'm probably primarily responsible for.
Before we move
Obviously
along,
I understand it.
could you
I
explain
mean,
what Regenerator and Hospitality do for people who are not aware or haven't
of
played
course,
newer games?
of course. So Regenerator's on a bunch of Pokemon. If you're familiar with other kinds of like competitive Pokemon, you might have seen it be used on a Pokemon like a Moongus, for example. Maybe even Ho-Oh if you're playing Ubers on Pokemon Showdown. Just a couple examples, but it's a move that when you switch the Pokemon out, recovers a bunch of its HP. Probably one of the most important abilities in normal Pokemon where you can select any move, but especially on bulkier teams. Now, Hospitality is a pretty new one. I wouldn't blame a listener if they don't really know it, because it's only on one Pokemon line, and that Pokemon line kind of just came out in the last generation. So it's the signature ability of Sinistcha and Poltergeist, and when you switch it in, it's one of those like abilities that really only matters in doubles games, but when you swap the Pokemon in, it restores HP to the Pokemon next to it. So if I swap my Sinistcha in and I got like a damaged Pokemon next to it, boom, that Pokemon gets healed a little bit. So it almost kind of lets you have a Pokemon that kind of just plays as a medic. It just heals everything up.
It's important to say in a format like this where you have very little under your control, being able to heal your mons is a very big advantage you can have against your opponent, especially having two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the most deceptively powerful part of it was that was just the ability of choice. Like, yeah, regenerator Pokemon are strong, but they're locked to whatever Pokemon you have. For example, I had a Slowbro, that Slowbro was stuck with Regenerator. If something else started to power up, there was no way for me to keep it healthy. But with Hospitality, really the strategy for me was just keep my opponent weak, keep them stalled out, maybe poison chip them a little with my spikes, but really just bide my time and wait for one of my Pokemon to randomly roll a move that powers itself up and then use my Hospitality to keep it healthy. And that was really like the hidden strength of the team. And that's why I think most people underestimated it initially. Because I had a couple Pokemon on it that synergized well. I had a Moody Pokemon. That one honestly didn't pan out as well as I thought it would. But I had a Defiant user. That Pokemon would just get crazy huge attack, and then I could just keep it healthy by swapping in and out. And it was just an absolute menace. And obviously other ways too. There's like weakness policy. You can slap that on any Pokemon and that turns it into a threat. Imagine that Pokemon being a threat and you could just keep it alive no matter what comes its way. And I think the third big reason why it was so strong is that usually the reason why this strategy doesn't show up in like normal competitive Pokemon is, oh, you swap in the Hospitality user, boom, gets hit by a flamethrower, now it's dead. But in Metronome Draft, there's never any guarantee that you're going to be punished. And because of that, going into the draft, I saw that switching was going to be much less punished than it normally is.
I will note, going into the season 1 draft, I heard murmurs about Poltergeist, but I hadn't even known of the ability at this point. And then I didn't realize it until it was too late once you started rolling with it, how good the ability was, especially even Toxic Spikes. I didn't even know that ability existed until the draft.
No, yeah, I mean, I honestly don't blame you. They added so much like broken abilities in Gen 9. I'm pretty sure my winning team, like like 3 or 4 of the 6 Pokemon were from Generation 9. What did I have? I had the Sinistra, I had an Annihilate, I had an Ursaluna, and I had maybe it was just them, but at least half the team was from that generation.
Shows how the power creep has really affected things. And I wonder where Gen 10 is going to take our league to. Who knows what broken abilities are going to come out.
No, I'm so terrified. They're gonna add a Pokemon with an ability that just like sets up Stealth Rock on the other side of the field like immediately.
See, it's
They're gonna
balanced.
add something stupid.
So next thing I want to talk about is your season 1 how you did and stuff, cuz going into the playoffs you were actually the 5 seed. What do you think led to you only being the 5 going to the playoffs with you having such a strong team at the time?
Okay, that's a really good question actually, because there's a couple reasons. Firstly, like, I mean, no matter how much team planning you do, like, you can always get unlucky. It's like it's an inherently random format, right?
I would say so.
Yeah, and alongside that, like, even though my team wasn't like mostly switching, like that makes it vulnerable. Like if the opponent gets crazy powerful, if I'm up against a Pokemon and even though I'm switching, waiting for a moment to strike, like the opponent just hits like a Geomancy or something, just some crazy boosting move, I need to pivot. I need to turn into like a straightforward attacking team. And my team was able to play that mode. I had the Ursaluna and I had the Annihilate. They were bulky and strong and could just hit hard without any backup. But it definitely was a more even playing field. There was also a couple games where my Pokemon just decided to keep exploding. Again, back to like the inherent random part. Like it was definitely a little rage inducing when I'm up against an opponent and my monkey boosts itself to 4 attack and then it hits an explosion and kills the other 3 Pokemon, except it was at like full health. Like that's just annoying. And not to mention it almost never killed the other 3 Pokemon because everyone had ghost types. But honestly, I think the third one, and I'm sure you remember this one. Were you there for that one game where I hidden in prison and everyone was watching and I decided to swap out?
Yes, I do remember this game, Papple, if you want to explain it.
I want you to explain it. You might remember it better than me.
I remember the gist of it, but I don't remember the exact details. I know how it ended.
Oh, I remember how it ended. It so obviously it was a close game.
Oh,
It
wait,
was a
before we do
close
this,
battle.
explain how Imprison works in our format, in our league, why it is so hated.
So Imprison is every format of Pokemon, no matter what, is gonna have either a move or like a team composition or even a Pokemon that you kind of see on the opposing team, and you're like, oh shit. In this league, that's a move, and that move is Imprison. Now, Imprison in traditional like competitive play sometimes is used to like counter Tailwind or counter Trick Room, because what it does is in normal play, it prevents the opposing Pokemon from using any move that is also known by the user. So like for example, in normal competitive play, you might have a Pokemon with Imprison and Trick Room, and you bring it out if you know you have like a bad matchup against Trick Room teams. But in this league, every Pokemon knows the same move, and it's the only move they know. So when you hit Imprison against an opponent, they just have to struggle. There's only two ways out of it. Either it's low enough, the imprisoning Pokemon is low enough HP, and you luck out and you struggle into it a couple times, or you just keep switching around your Pokemon and wait for it to run out of HP and kill itself. So, with that out of the way, this was a game, it was getting kind of close. I started to slowly like hold on to a lead. I was maybe up two Pokemon, and then I luck out. I hit an Imprison against them. And this was a game where, obviously, it was season one. It was a budding community, way more than it was now. It's still budding, but I'm really happy with how much bigger it's gone. But I digress. I hit an Imprison. Everyone in the chat was like, "Oh, okay, it's over. It's done." And someone, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Bo. It was either Bo or who's the person that was like impersonating Bo?
I was impersonating Fichi.
Yes. God, I still don't really understand that. But it was one of those two that was like, you should totally switch out. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'm far enough into the season to be well aware of how strong my team is. I'm up two Pokemon. I'll do it for the fans. So I
Also,
swap it
half the
out.
league is watching. Let's add that in
Yeah,
too.
that's exactly half the league is watching. So I'm like, you know what? I'll do it for the fans. I want to see this community get bigger, and let's be real, I'm gonna probably win this game anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I switch out, and the game continues. Obviously, the opponent could just hit metronomes now. It's, I guess, back to an even playing field, if you would call it that. But they hit they hit me with a strong move. They hit me with like a same type attack bonus blizzard, and it kills one of my Pokemon. I'm like, okay, down to one Pokemon ahead. Then one of my Pokemon explodes itself. There's three ghost types on the field around it. It does nothing but kill itself. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it's an even game. Oh, okay, now I'm down a Pokemon. Oh, I lost. And I don't know. I did not want to talk about it after. I was very upset with myself. And from that, but it taught me a valuable lesson because I've watched plenty of Pokemon playing. I've not done a lot before this league, and it taught me like anything can happen when you're playing in a league where any move can be called at any time. You like a win is never guaranteed. Like you're and that's really honestly at the end of the day the fun of it. Like you're never out of a competition. You're never out of a match.
Yeah, no matter how bad your team is, you still got a chance. You could pull some Okos, you could put them asleep. They could just kill themselves 6 times in a row. Any game is winnable.
Yeah, especially under like your newer system where you can hit like a reviving move. There's speaking of Gen 9 being broken, there's moves in the game that just bring a Pokemon back from the dead.
Yeah, base showdown doesn't actually let you call that move. We'll go into this in a future episode where I'll bring on the guy who helped us do this, but we made it so Metronome can pull more moves that it originally can't in the base game.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of they're putting in a big effort to kind of like take all the moves that might have been taken out of the game during Dexit or like just the passage of generations and just make them all available. Because
Yeah.
like if you're gonna be in a random league, you might as well make it truly random.
Yeah, I want to be able to pull Ice Ball.
I, Ice Ball. I want to be able to pull hold hands.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
Absolutely.
So with that, so everyone knows now you won season one. You were the champion. Now, looking back at your team, what do you wish you could have done to make your team better,
Hmm. What I could do to make my team better?
or wish you would have done?
Uh, I mean, obviously it's a little far in the distance at this point in time, but I think probably some of the biggest. I'll just run through the strongest Pokemon that I ended up not figuring out, like the ones I didn't really realize were that strong until after. Uh, first of all, Ditto. Ditto is really deceptively strong in this league, especially because one of the teams I was up against was able to use it as their Shitmon. In season one, you were required to bring a low base stat total Pokemon to every game, and Ditto counted as one of them. Granted, I ended up with Mawile, which was a really good pick, all things considered. Had Intimidate, crazy good typing, but I really did not have Ditto on my radar, and it's just good. You can swap it in against an opposing Pokemon that started to roll some good boosting moves. It's just fun, and it's a really good Shitmon, like I said. But also deceptively, especially considering my team went for really long games. So by the time I started to really understand how to pilot the team I had drafted, I was really tracking like the PP of my Pokemon throughout the game. And every time you swap in Ditto, it gets 5 fresh PP points. So it's functionally infinite PP if you're going to have a long running team like mine. And I'd say the other Pokemon that kind of flew under my radar was Flamigo. Because Flamigo, another Gen 9 Pokemon, another broken special ability. Co-Star, it just when you swap it in, it copies whatever stat changes its teammate has. So that monkey that I have, that Defiant monkey I got with max attack, I swap the Flamingo in next to it, and that also gets max attack.
Be
But
very
overall, I'd
broken.
say I'm pretty happy with my team.
That's good to hear that you're happy with the team. I want to move slightly into season two because you were meant to be in season two, but also you had a item revolution when you discovered something that has been used in every season since that nobody knew about.
Was I really the first one to discover that? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, you were the first person to do it. You brought it up to a few people and it spread across the entire server and everybody started using it. And it was also used last season, or at least talked about.
Oh, I know what item you're talking about. Speaking of that item, those of you in the league, you're probably gonna see that item on my first draft pick for this season.
A little sneak peek, or it wouldn't be sneak peek, it would be a post peek.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so obviously I was after functionally breaking the meta wide open for the first season. I when I was still thinking I was doing the second season, I was looking into other things. I was thinking, okay, rules have changed. Now Curse Body is banned, Perish Body is banned, Commander's banned, there's like a heal clause. So let me look into what else might be broken. So I kind of like poured over the rules. I did my little like rules lawyering, and it was like every item is available. So that got me thinking. First, I looked at I was looking at like all the removed items, which led me to Generation 2. I was looking at like the Gen 2 berries. I was thinking about maybe doing a harvest spam team, which, judging by Heal Claws now, I'm assuming someone did in the time since.
Yeah, someone did, and they exploited it. Multiple people did.
Wow. God, I wish I was able to play that season. I had so many good ideas. But I was looking at the Generation 2 items, and I found one that really piqued my interest. It's called the Berserk Gene. Now, it's only available in Generation 2. I'm pretty sure you ended up getting it in the game, like, through, like, a mystery gift with Mewtwo, or, like, it's supposed to have the Berserk Gene on itself when you encounter it. But what the item does is, well, in Gen 2 at least, it confuses the holder for 256 turns, but it also raises their attack by 2. So it's a free swords dance as soon as it enters, but it gives them infinite confusion. So I was testing with this item. I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Let me see if I can make this work. So then I'm looking at like Tangled Feet users, another obscure ability. It ups your evasion by 50% while you're confused. That one was kind of like mid. So then I look at, what was it? I then discover, first of all, that in Pokemon Showdown, the confusion is not for 256 turns. It's just a normal bit of confusion. But then I realized two other things. First of all, it's the confusion doesn't happen if there's an effect preventing it. So like if you have a mist active on your side, or if you're in misty terrain. But the second thing I realized was that if an own tempo Pokemon, a Pokemon with the ability own tempo, had Berserk Gene, it wouldn't even get confused. And this piggybacks on top of a recent generation change. I think it was in Gen 9 or Gen 8, where own tempo also makes you immune to intimidate. And I was like, oh my god, I felt like I kind of opened Pandora's box there.
I think it's a great way of putting it. You definitely did.
So then I was talking to Cam about it. I got closer with Cam because Cam was the only other person in season 1 that had a hospitality Pokemon. So we were kind of like bouncing ideas off each other for some of the season. But looking back on the text, I remember I messaged him on Discord. I was like, "Hey, so just making sure every item is allowed in this format." And he's like, "Yes." And then I was like, "This includes items that have been removed from game in later generations, like the type gems." And he was like, "Wait, you are not saying Berserk Gene." And then I was like, "Yes, I am." And I honestly contemplated just like, first of all, as soon as Cam found out about it, Cam wanted to revise the rules. He was like, "Fuck, now I feel bad for saying I might need to revise the rules because that is broken and unintentional." And I'm like, please do not do that. But ultimately, I think I decided to just like tell people about it because, well, my logic was this. Like, first of all, it's just like a cool tech that I want people to know about. And like personally, I didn't think I needed it to win. Like I needed that hidden to win. But second of all, I mean, in my head, just everyone was going to use a trade to give their Pokemon that item as soon as they found out about it. It's funny that it became like so ubiquitous because I honestly thought it wasn't even that good because I set my sights so high. What I was looking into was a permanently confused Tanglefeet Pokemon and keeping it healthy with hospitality.
Oh my.
So when I found out that didn't work, when I found out it just confused them normally, I thought it was just a bust. I thought it was pointless. And then Cam took it a step further. Cam was like, what if you set up Misty Terrain and then use Berserk Gene with a pickup Pokemon? Did that end up being a thing?
I don't think anyone has tried that.
Oh my god, I should totally try that.
You got time.
And I also have access to the fairy type.
Yeah. And speaking of that, let's lead into season 4, which is the season Papple's actually going to be playing in. Do you want to explain the rules for people who aren't sure?
So this is a captain's draft. It's a bit of a different format than the other ones. Any of you listening that have played like monotype on Pokemon Showdown might be a little familiar with this type of team building. So you pick a captain Pokemon, ideally a 2-type one. You're kind of stupid if you pick a single type captain, so no one did. And then a week later, you draft your Pokemon, but the catch is each of those Pokemon has to share a type with your captain. So for example, I ended up choosing Tapu Bulu as my captain for reasons, and that means I have access to any grass type Pokemon and any fairy type. And it's really interesting because instead of like competing over every single Pokemon with every single other player, like it's me and 2 other teams that have access to the grass type. So I'm kind of like just talking with them beforehand. It's really like a different atmosphere because I'm talking with them and it's less about competition, more like, hey, this is the kind of strategy I'm going for. What's yours? I want to make sure we're not going to like be stepping on each other's toes here.
So it's a lot more harmony you guys have based on past seasons when it was a free for all, try to get whatever you can.
Yeah. And also, oh, it's just like, I think it's just a cool format. Like, I'm really excited that I drafted a grass type because on paper, if you're unfamiliar with like the Metronome League, you would assume that grass is probably one of the worst types to have. They have one of the most weaknesses of any type, and if every move's random, it just means, oh, this Pokemon has a higher chance of getting hit super effective. And generally in past seasons, you'd be right. Like there were like the most dangerous Pokemon were like water types and like fairy steel types. But this time around, I'm the grass type is wide open and it gives me access to a ton of terrifying Pokemon. I mean, think about how many like scary Pokemon happen to be grass type. Like what? Ferrothorn, Amoonguss, Tangrowth.
There's some good mons you can pick from. Also, before we move on a little farther, you can't pick a steel type captain, which was the biggest
Oh
thing
yeah.
for balancing. So one person, Wubbs, he did pick Empoleon, so he is running a mono water team.
Yeah, the only other steel types he would be able to pick were ones that were both water and steel.
Yeah, so you can get steel if they match your type, but then if you drafted a steel captain, you could only take mono type steel. It was a weird rule. I don't fully understand it, but no one did, so we don't have to worry about that.
Hmm.
So let's go into your ideas. What broken ideas has Papple found in the lab this time?
So, my first season, I won with a bulky, unkillable team. I'm, I guess I'm kind of going down a similar route here. I have, I'm going to be very bulky, and I plan to make a lot of use of grassy terrain. I kind of made a call going into this that some of the most sought after and strongest Pokemon on other teams are going to be flying types, which I think is going to be the case. I mean, like Landorus, Gliscor, like a bunch of the Pokemon that would otherwise be hard to break through already wouldn't get benefit from grassy terrain. I also think that compared to weather, terrain's going to be a lot harder to contest. I think there's going to be a lot fewer people that have access to like terrain interaction on their team. And also just I have some strong fairy types too. I mean, I might explore Florges Flower Veil. Flower Veil is an ability that prevents grass types on your team from being statused or having their stats lowered. So I might like wait for a Pokemon to boost itself up, swap in the Florges next to it, and boom, it can't even be like poisoned. And it can't be intimidated either. So I'm just looking to maybe go that route. I also have a backup route, which I'm honestly sort of hoping I'm forced to do because it seems like it would be really fun. And all I'm going to say about it is Misty Terrain, Berserk Gene Kartana with a Symbiosis Choice Band.
Oh,
So if my strategy just completely falls through, that's going to be my Hail Mary for the season.
it could be very interesting. Going off of that, so you said you are a grass fairy. How many other teams can step in your territory?
So there was this one there's this one guy who drafted, let me check the team names. So the Aragon Azumarils drafted Ludicolo as their captain, and that's a grass water type. Uh I'm thinking they're probably not going to have that many grass types because I mean, if they just wanted it for its typing, they could have picked Ogerpon Wellspring. So that makes me think they're going to go a rain team. And the other team that drafted it was we. It was the end of the draft. I was so excited. It looked like grass was completely open. And then we draft Scovillain, which is a grass fire type. So I've been talking a lot with we, and hopefully we're not going to step on each other's toes with this. And when it comes to the fairy type is extremely contested. How many people have access to it?
5 or 6. I think it was the highest drafted type.
Yeah, I think so too. So I think so. What I decided with my draft ideology is just like take the important fairy types first and save the grass for later. And like speaking of draft ideology, that's kind of what you always have to do. Just take it from a seasoned champion. The right way to draft in Metronome League is make a list of the Pokemon that you want, sort them into their roles, and decide draft order based on which Pokemon are the most irreplaceable. So for me in season 1, the Pokemon that were not able to be replaced were Glimora and Sinistcha. They are the only two with their abilities, and I drafted them first and second. So for example, in this case, someone might think, oh, you should draft your regenerator Pokemon super early so you have it. But no, I have access to Tangrowth, I have access to a Moongus, I have access to Hydrapple. I can even like grab a Harvest Trevenant if those are all gone somehow. So ultimately, even though it's an important role, it could be filled by a bunch of different Pokemon.
Speaking of draft order, what are you picking out of the 24 teams?
What am I picking first?
No, what's your pick order? What number are you?
Uh, so pick order is reverse from the captain selection, right?
Yes, but what would it be in the captains? What number did you pick?
So I picked my captain 18th, which means I'll be 1, 2, 3,
Sixth or
4.
seventh? It should be.
I'll be 7th, and I'm also the first. I'm the first fairy type team
Ooh.
to draft.
So let's talk about that then. Who is going to be your first pick since no one can realistically take it?
So we've kind of laid the groundwork for all my reasoning already in this podcast episode. For those of you that have been listening intently, we've talked about own tempo, we've talked about Berserk Gene, I've talked about how good the Steel Fairy type is. My first pick is going to be Tinkaton. It has an irreplaceable role for the sake of my team. It has own tempo and strong stats, and I'm gonna put a Berserk Gene on it and use the terrain to keep her healthy.
Biggest thing is no one can take it from you.
Exactly. It's a complete lock. No one can take it from me.
That is huge. You got such a great draft spot for your fairy.
Absolutely. At first I was bummed that another grass type ended the draft, but then I realized that I'm going to be the first fairy type to pick. And really, Tinkaton's the only one I will like explicitly really need. I could have the rest of my team be grass types and I'd be happy, but ideally I'll get a Florges or something down the line.
Okay, let's head to the middle of the draft. Like you said, you make a sheet for this. What are some other irreplaceables that you have?
So some other irreplaceable Pokemon are obviously the Florges line. They're the only one with Flower Veil, but I ultimately kind of decided that it's not as good as I thought it was, which is unfortunate, but sometimes you got to make those decisions. And so down the line, other Pokemon that are considered irreplaceable, Wo-Chien. Wo-Chien is a grass type with another Gen 9 broken ability. Take a shot during this podcast every time I say there's a Generation 9 Pokemon with a broken ability, but its ability weakens the attack of all other Pokemon on the field. So for a bulky healing team like mine, that could be very strong. And even though it's bulky, it also has a lot of weaknesses. So I'm going to use that to my advantage, probably put a weakness policy on it to hopefully get hit with a weak super effective move to activate that. And I'd say the only other really irreplaceable Pokemon would maybe be Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is just he's just a little spiky bastard. And when you're in a format where like a trillion contact moves randomly hit without like human decision, that ends up translating into a bunch of chip damage on your opponent.
Very good.
If Ferrothorn ends up getting taken, I might just grab a Kartana instead for a more offensive slant. I know Wii was really bargaining with me, kind of trying to convince me to not take Ferrothorn. Convince/beg.
You need to though. It's such a good mon. You
It
can't
is
just let it
such a
sit
good
there.
mon. You really can just let it sit there.
So is that going to be your third round pick then, if it's still there?
I'd say so. And then further down the line, there's Pokemon that are irreplaceable, but you also need to consider like how important the irreplaceable role is to you. Like in terms of like generally bulky non-regenerator Pokemon, really the best one would be Mega Venusaur. It gets thick fat, so it's really functionally only weak to like one or two types, and it kind of hits like a truck too. And I'm expecting later in the draft, I'm expecting to not pick my regenerator until a little later in the draft. If someone wants to grab Hydrapple, that's okay. I'm happy with either Amoonguss or Tangrowth.
Drapple's pretty good
But
though.
but that's what I'm really excited about this draft, and why I'm really happy with my captain choice, because there's just a lot of depth when it comes to what my team's trying to do. Like even if Venusaur gets taken, what I can do is I can take a Regenerator and then grab a Moongus and give it Effect Spore instead and just make it a bulky guy with Black Sludge. Like, there's so many different ways to use the Pokemon. I can, if like Florges isn't working out for me and I end up drafting it, I could swap it into Symbiosis and use like Grassy Seed on a different Pokemon. Like, it's just a very adaptable team, and I'm very excited to try and pilot it.
It'd be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see. Every single season draft has been more and more fun, and I think this one we hit the climax because last week meant so much to what each team picked. Now I got to watch where the cards get placed, who is going to sabotage who. When you kind of get to sit back and watch a little bit on what's going to happen, especially with the grass type.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna swoop in, grab the only fairy type that I really care about, and get out of there.
Yeah, so huge win for you looking at that. But I want to take a look at the rest of season 4. Is there any teams you think did super well with their captain's pick, locking their type to themselves? And there's also some teams that you think may have put themselves in a bad spot.
Absolutely. So I was very impressed by. I guess we'll start with Chris. The Pewter City Pories picked Garchomp as their captain, a Dragon Ground type, and I did some pre-captain draft scrimmages against Chris. Honestly, shout out to wasn't underscore Chris for the 1 hour of actual like play testing I did before this draft. But he found out that dragon types are deceptively strong because yes, obviously they're resistant to a bunch of types, like they're resistant to like grass, water, fire, electric, and whatnot. But I mean, when it comes to bulky types, like you already have fairy and steel. But what's really deceptive is that dragon types are just so strong. I mean, how many pseudo legendaries aren't dragon types? Like one of them? I think only Metagross.
That sounds right. I'm not going to fact check you.
Yeah. And also the ground type is very scary too. It gives you access to Landorus Therian for an Intimidator. Gives you access to like Poison Heal Gliscor. And honestly, I think that the Dragon type players were the biggest winners out of this draft because I was fully expecting there to be many more Dragon type like captains than there were. But no, there's only two of them.
That's wild. I can't believe only 2 of those ended up going. After the draft, I was murmurs everywhere about, oh my gosh, Chris could actually do it. I'll have Chris on in a future episode as he's kind of a legend around the server for what him and his Porygons have done.
Oh yeah, of course. Absolutely the best theme presence on the server. Really like a huge cultural player when it comes to like the identity of the league. But honestly, the strongest Pokemon that Chris has access to is one that I haven't seen anyone talking about so far, and I'm completely petrified to have to face it. And that Pokemon is Duraludon.
I like that mod. I remember when I had the pilot in season 1, I picked that up.
Yeah, but like Eviolite Duraludon on the Dragon type team where he might be going for a strategy with just a bunch of intimidators and a bunch of rough skin Pokemon. It's just scary. I
He's
mean, I mean with Duraludon and like Hisui and Gudra on the same team, what am I supposed to do with my random moves against two Steel Dragon type pseudo legendary level Pokemon?
He's a very good team, or he has a chance to. We still have to get to the draft, and if he does really good there, he's gonna have a great shot this season because he's gonna have to get unlucky to lose, realistically.
Of course. Yeah. I will say it does have a bunch of competition in ground type. Ground and Fairy are tied for the most picked captain type in this captain draft. So I do not expect the teams I practice against with like a Landorus Therian and a Gliscor and all that to be what he ends up with, but I'm still very scared.
I'm scared too, but I'm also really proud of him because he had such a great pick. I remember we were talking, I think a day or two before the draft, and he told me he wanted Garchomp, and I was like, I don't know, because he was picking 11 out of 24. I'm like, I don't know if Garchomp's going to drop that far. And as we kept going, Garchomp just sat there, and he was so happy to get that pick in.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, sometimes that's just how the cards fall. Like, I totally could have failed to get Tapu Bulu. According to we, Tapu Bulu was Wee's backup plan, so we lost his initial like desired starter and his backup plan to me. So he ended up going with Scoville.
At least he had some backups. And Wee's sitting in a good spot because he's sitting at 24. So he is at the end of the first, and then he's right to second round. So he already has his second round pick ready to go.
Exactly. And like I was talking about before, the communication aspect's been great. I've been able to build my team with the assumption that I won't have access to Sinistra because that's what we said he's going to take.
That's what I was hearing too. But we'll see. Anything can change. We are sitting at about 15, 16 hours till the draft. So could be some shenanigans by the time we get there. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as for teams that I might be a little bit more reluctant to say have a chance, I would say the Ludicolo team and the Galarian Weezing team.
Who took the Weezing?
So Ludicolo was taken by Adler, and the Weezing was taken by Peter.
Okay.
And I'll tell you my reasoning for both of them. First of all, Ludicolo, you've encountered some Sun teams and Sandstorm teams in the previous seasons, right?
Yeah, we ran through a few of them, and we even have a weather clause now because they can get a little unfair.
You have a weather clause?
Oh. Yeah, you'll have to. I don't have it pulled up directly, but there is now a weather clause where you can only use a couple mons of like dry skin. Or stuff like
yeah,
that.
You can only use 2 of the Pokemon that with an ability that restore health from the weather. I guess that makes sense.
So it is basically just healing clause again, but just slightly in a subcategory of it.
In the weather aspect of it. And I don't think we've ever had a rain team before, right?
I don't think we have. I think Blab may have ran a half one in season 1, possibly, but no one's fully committed to it. That might be the only person who has, and because especially season 3 was a mini season with Little Cup, there was not a lot of options for it. In season 2, we did points, so you were very limited.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I feel like when it comes to, like, for example, when it comes to the captain's draft where you're limited in types, like, for example, I would say the only person capable of drafting a competent Sun team right now would be Wii, because he has access to grass and fire, but that's not even the direction he's going. And Sand teams can be kind of powerful because of their chip damage, but every team is going to be trying to draft Steel types regardless, so its effectiveness is limited. And Rain doesn't even have that many like passive effects. Like Swift Swim doesn't really matter as much in this as it does in a normal Pokemon League. So I'm expecting whatever Rain team Adler decides to build to be a little underwhelming, but I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, Adler is one of our 3 new players we have coming into season 4, so I'm really excited to see what they do, because your first season's obviously a learning experience. Not everybody can be Papple and go win the whole thing. It takes learning, and it takes a lot of people. Technically, their second season was when everything clicks. They get a great team, they have a great run, they start being like, oh wow, there's a lot you can do in this compared to what I thought. You don't just click metronome. There is a lot more that goes into it, which a lot of people wouldn't realize just looking at it on the surface.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, hey, I was gone for 2 seasons. When I left in season 1, Chris was not taking this seriously at all. Now he has a captain that I think has the potential to win the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Chris does. Any other teams that you might be scary for? You mentioned some teams that you think may struggle slightly with their captain.
Yeah.
Any other teams you see like Chris?
So there's one other team like that I'll get into in a second. First, I do want to talk about Galarian Weezing. I'm really disappointed in the Galarian Weezing captain pick. What I was hoping for, if there was if there was going to be a neutralizing gas team in this league, which I didn't know if there was, I was expecting there to be a normal fairy type captain, because they would have neutralizing gas and it would give them access to like Regigigas, it would give them access to Slaking, the Pokemon you usually expect to see next to a neutralizing gas Weezing. But as a captain, I'm not really sure how much utility it's going to have with its ability. Like, really, the only other utility you can get out of neutralizing gas, other than like messing with the opponent, is reactivating your own abilities on switch out or switch in. And there's only one fairy type intimidator, and that's Granville, so you don't want to be running that anyway. And there's how many like intimidate poison types are there? Like there's only like Quillfish, Overquill, and Arbok.
Only a
Overquill's
few I
good.
could think of.
Quillfish is kind of decent if you want to like put an Eviolite on it. And Arbok's kind of poop. But I don't know. I just think it's a bit of wasted potential because it doesn't really do much for your own team, and it locks the rest of the league out of it pretty much because the only other neutralizing gas Pokemon is poison type, like pure poison. So there's only like one other team that has access to it. Now, the one team that I think has a lot of potential, like that I think people might be deceived by right now, is the Laragos Larvitar, which I think might also be a new player. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
The
they are.
Mimikyu
They are a new
captain?
player. Yes.
Exactly. And they picked Mimikyu for their captain. I remember in the chat, in the voice chat,
Yep.
they weren't there for the draft. It was like a absent draft. I remember everyone was kind of like clowning on them for that pick. They were like, "That's a horrible first captain pick. That's terrible." And I remember telling them, I told them, not to LeBron James myself here, but I told them in the moment that, like, hey, you never know. This might be a great captain pick, and I think it might be, and I'll tell you why. They are the only ghost type captain in the draft.
Crazy oversight. Before we jump into anything else,
Insane oversight.
the fact that no
I
one
thought,
picked a ghost.
exactly. I initially thought someone was going to get Garchomp, and then Chris was going to get Dragapult, and there would be some competition for ghost type. But no, they have the entire ghost type to themselves, and ghost type. It's not like the bug type where like, or the grass type where like, yeah, it's bad on its own, but you might have access to good Pokemon. Ghost types are great in Metronome Draft. Do you have any idea how many normal type damage? Let me look this up. What percentage of damaging moves are normal type
Yeah,
or fighting type?
it's crazy because
Combined, the normal and fighting type moves are about 20% of all damaging moves.
so you have a 1 in 5 chance if it's an attacking move to do something to you that it won't hit. Like for example,
Yeah.
somebody who ran like Trevenant and Harvest on it had a great team because you would just keep healing and you'd be Ghost. Also in season 3, Aegislash did really good, or whatever the little one was, did really good because it just keeps pulling normal moves and there's like nothing you can do against it.
Mm-hmm. And it also is Shadow Tag allowed right now?
I believe Shadow Tag is allowed.
It is?
Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5 banned abilities. It says it on the dock, and
So
I believe it's not Shadow Tag.
so Shadow Tag was dangerous in the first season because Pink, which I'm just gonna go on record and say this, if their strategy wasn't so busted and unfun they got banned, they probably would have first season. But granted, that was also for like other reasons. Like, they never should have been allowed to have Tatsugiri and Dondoso on the same team because that was from a trade, right?
That was from a trade, and they also took an ability that was banned before the draft and took it anyway, and then no one stopped him. So it was a lot of murky
Oh,
water from that. Like Wubbs had on the sheet Perish Body was banned, but then he took it anyway, and then he was out ruled.
mm-hmm. Gotcha. But yeah, so the ghost type's completely open, so that gives you access to some insanely powerful Pokemon. I mean, thank God Golden Go is banned, but you get Dragapult, you get Annihilate, you can even grab like Fluttermane, you have access to Skeledirge, an unaware bulky bastard. Also, whatever fairy types are like left over, I guess. I mean, obviously the fairy type's not doing that much for you. Like, looking back, if you were going to be a ghost type captain, obviously, with my experience, I would have picked like Dragapult or something to have a strong second type access. But even still, like you said, sometimes it's just about how the cards fall. And the cards fell in a way where this guy is going to be able to pick Annihilate as his final pick.
Honestly, I think taking Mimikyu might have been the big idea, like big IQ play, because everybody forgets it's a ghost. If he would have took Dragapult first overall, it would have been like, wait a second, we got a strong ghost. But the fact it wasn't kind of let it slip under the radar.
Yeah. And honestly, when it came down to me, when it came to my pick, I was contemplating picking Dragapult. Uh, Chris made me promise him I wouldn't because that was like the strategy he was super excited about with like the dragons. So like as the one person that like was willing to like scrim with me last minute, I kind of did that just to like respect him.
That's
But
fair. I'm glad you respected that.
there's there's some terrifying ghost types. And yeah, they're a new player. They might misplay. They might be like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick Palisand first because it's my favorite Pokemon." I have no idea who this person is, but whoever they are, you know what? I might even like message them privately after this just to like kindly let them know the position they're in because I think it's fun to like have new players have their turn. But I think I think it has a chance to also be a strong team. I would not be surprised if the Mimikyu team ends up making it to like the top 8.
Very good chance. And also, with this format, the top seed does not win. We have yet to have the number one seed going into the playoffs win the championship. Papple was the 5. Season 2 champion, I think, was the 10 seed. And then the season 3 champion was the 7. So the door's wide open. So going into the playoffs, every team has a chance, no matter
Hmm.
what, because it's Metronome. And obviously, after this season, I do want to take a step back and kind of think about, hey, how can we make this better? We already did this by making it a multiple rounds where like so the first seed gets a double bye in season 2 and stuff like that just to give them a higher chance. But I wonder if we need to start doing like best of threes or just little ideas like that to throw around just to
Hmm.
give the higher seeds a chance because if we do best of threes and then the lower teams keep winning, then it's like at that point it's not worth it. But then that kind of gives balance to the top seeds. Then I kind of like that because the issue with the season 1 playoffs is all 4 teams with a bye lost, which is really
Yeah.
funny. It was really funny how that ended up working out. So then season 2 it was a mixed bag. We had a Cinderella story, and then season 3 we also had a slight Cinderella. So this season, hopefully things go a little more top heavy, or we'll get another great Cinderella. There's only one way to find out with that. But I think that's
Yeah.
a good spot to wrap up the draft part of this. Let's go into more of the Papple part of this. More about you
Sure.
wanting to join this, what you do, like stuff, kind of stuff like that. Because people could be if you got an hour into this and you don't even pay attention to the draft league, I'm kind of surprised you're here, honestly.
Hmm.
Unless you're learning, then I respect that. And if you want to apply, join the Discord, and there is a form to fill out if you would love to be in a future season. But what made you want to join the draft league? And then we're going to learn a little bit about you.
All right. So when I first saw the draft league, what it was an Instagram account that just started popping up on my Instagram reels. And I was a year younger. I was like relatively new to college and I was I would just scroll through and I was like, "Oh, that's neat." And it got to the point where like while I scrolled through everything else, I would just always look at it because I thought it was a silly format and going into this league, there is on base Pokemon Showdown a metronome battle, uh, I guess game type that you could play. And during my boring college classes, I would just play that. And it's a doubles format. You bring in 2 Pokemon. It's very different from this. You only bring in 2 Pokemon. You have any items you could give them. You could give them any ability. It's functionally just 2v2 Hackmons with only metronome. And I would just play it in class to like pass the time. But I mean, eventually I started to like workshop it and be like, hey, this is cool. Oh, what I could do is I could get 2 Blissies and give them Imposter and a Lepiberry. Or, oh, what I can do is I can give them both Mirror and Pickup so that whenever an opponent boosts, they both pick up each other's Mirror Herb and they could just keep doing it. And, just like workshopping it. And soon the game mode that I started playing just to pass time in class became something that I was capable of like theory crafting in. So when I'm spamming through my Instagram stories and I see on Pokemon Bracket, does anyone want to join a Metronome Battle League? Type here if yes. I was like, this is a no-brainer. I'll try this out. So then I got added to the Discord. I met everyone, and honestly, the rest is kind of history.
Yeah. I think it's great because a lot of people just found it on accident, which I think just makes it even better because it's almost like a weird butterfly effect where you had to be in the right spot at the right moment, or we wouldn't be here at this moment. A lot of people I'm closest with on the server just happened to see it and join, and they never
Hmm.
would have if they didn't. Like Bo, he wasn't even supposed to be in the draft league, and now he's been in every season. Just like little tiny things like that make it really cool. So tell them the man behind the Papple Juice. You don't have to go too personal, obviously, but anything you'd like to share for people who haven't got a chance to talk to you a lot or just know of you as a legend.
Sure. Well, so I'm Papple. I drum for two different bands. I really like drumming. I'm a very big music and science person. So I drum for two different bands. I do some a cappella at college, and I'm also the president of my college's beatboxing club. So I think that's kind of silly.
Oh, you are? That's cool.
Mm. And I also do scientific research. I'm a biochemistry major right now. Working towards my bachelor's degree. I'm getting some research experience. I'm looking to actually publish a research paper in like 2, 3 years. So that's very exciting to get my name out there.
Yeah, that is really cool to try to get your foot out there into the scientific field. Is it something you want to discuss here, or is it something you want to keep until you get farther along with it?
I mean, I'll talk generally about it. So, this lab I used to be a part of, uh, mainly studied tick-borne disease. So I learned some cool stuff there. I learned about like Lyme disease, how to dissect a tick under a microscope. That's probably my coolest favorite part. And ultimately, just like presented a couple research expos. And the lab I'm currently in is a plant chemical ecology laboratory. We're looking into protein plants in the middle of the Amazon and figuring, like why do they have these different like poisons? Why do they have these differently evolved like thorns on them? Just like defense mechanisms, figuring out. So maybe that plays into why I've been a strong player in this league. I'm just a very analytical person. And you might be saying that's a lot of personal info to give, but you know what? If you want to take this information that I'm giving you and try and figure out who I am in person, that's fine by me. I don't really care. But I'm always happy to share about my research or about just like learning. I'm a lifelong learner person. So, anyone listening to this in the server, if you ever want to just like ask me a question about like, oh, how do you think this interaction works? Or, oh, how good do you think this is in the Metronome League? Just, I don't know, don't hesitate to shoot me a DM. It's always open. I'm always ready to talk to people. I mean, I would have never gotten this far if I didn't have other strong players like Chris or Wee or Cam to just bounce my ideas off of.
It's funny because Cam is also in the scientific field, and he is one of the ones who spends the most time on this. So I wonder if there's a correlation between loving
Oh no
science.
way! What does he do?
You'll have to talk to him about it, but he blows things up, is what he says is his job.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, he always talks about that, so this sounds like a fun thing to do. He does labs and stuff like that. But let's go a little bit more into. Do you want to go talk the music side, um, with your drumming and stuff like that?
Sure. So I do a cappella. I'm a bass in a cappella. I play the drum set for those two bands. One of them is more of like an indie band. They play like Car Seat Headrest, like The Strokes, stuff like that. You might know. And the other one's a little more hardcore. They play not hardcore, but like grungier. They play like Green Day and Black Sabbath. But it's just really fun. Those are more recent developments for me.
Do you have a
And
favorite? Oh, do you have a favorite song you like playing?
favorite song to play. Uh Kilby Girl by the Backseat Lovers is probably one of my favorites. It's just a really fun one. Because in the indie band, I formed it with a couple closer friends, so it's really nice to like. It's one of those songs where everyone in the band kind of gets a chance to jam out.
I see what you mean. So
So I
you
say
you,
that's my
you can get
favorite.
everybody involved in it, and they can all have a good time with it. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, and I also do some arranging on the side for a cappella specifically. I get like commissioned every once in a while by a college a cappella group to like write a song for them. They're like, "Hey, we want this song, but make it a cappella and make it good." And I'm like, "Okay."
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't realize you were so much into the music side of things. Because we've shortly talked about your science stuff, but we never really dived into that side of it.
No, yeah. I'm happy to talk about it.
That is really cool. Another thing we could talk about is you like playing Hearthstones. Is there any other video games that you're
God
into?
damn it. Yes, I do like playing Hearthstone. Only Battlegrounds, only that one with a YouTube video in the background. What else do I play? I used to play a ton of Smash Bros, but I've kind of like stopped since I went to college. And let's see. Recently I've been playing a lot of Civ 6. You know, I'm home for summer break, so I can really just get into those games that are just a huge time investment. So that's really fun. I've played a ton of Bloons Tower Defense 6 and a ton of FTL Faster Than Light. I'm just a big fan of card games. I also play a bit of Magic the Gathering. But right now, I'd say my biggest game is probably hmm hmm. I've been playing a bit of Marvel Rivals. It's pretty fun.
It's good to hear. So the reason I brought up Hearthstones is whenever I see Papple online, he's always playing that. So I figured it'd be a great place to start at.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just because like usually I'm on invisible on Discord, but I guess now I'm on online since I've been home and I just like might as well keep it open. But yeah, it's really just like my default game to go to like to unwind. Big fan of card games.
So overall, looking at video games, what's the reason you play them? Would you say?
What's the reason I play video games?
Yeah, like what's your overlying reason for it? Like what joy do you get out of it, I should say.
I think I think growing up it used to be like to be the best at the game, I would like try really hard at them, whether it was like Smash Bros or Fortnite or whatever. But I used to be really good at Minecraft Bed Wars.
Oh, Bed Wars?
But yeah, but I think now I really just play to like unwind. You know, I'm an adult. I do adult things, and I come home and I get tired. Wow, that sounds kind of depressing, but I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, we can skip over that part, but yeah.
No, I really do enjoy it though. Like it just means I'm doing like different things with my life. Like I used to think that like my dream existence would be like being financially stable enough that I could just sit at home and play games all day. But I feel like my worldview is a little different now.
Yeah, I agree similar to you. As much fun as it would be to sit around at home all day, I enjoy going to work and stuff, working that 9 to 5 grind and coming home. Obviously there's times I wish I had more energy I could put into like this Pokemon bracket stuff, but it's also nice having that work life balance of being able to, oh hey, go out and do things for over half your day.
Yeah, and honestly, that's pretty important. I feel like.
Yeah, you would drive yourself
Well,
crazy if you just sat around and didn't do much.
yeah. What point would you say you're at in your life? Are you in college right now?
No, so this will be a little bit of personal stuff for people who haven't really heard about me because I'm pretty quiet about stuff, even people in the Discord server. But no, I didn't end up going to college. I didn't see what I needed to do because I mean I'm 20 right now, so I'm still fairly young.
You're
And
20?
yeah, I'm 20.
Oh, same.
Oh, nice, we're twinning
Oh
there.
yeah.
It's weird because people are typically like 3 or 4 years younger than me, or like 3 or 4 years older than me. There's not a lot of people in this like dead middle spot that I'm in.
Yeah, especially on the server so far, I kind of felt the same. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're either a lot of young people that are hitting the point where they're about to go into college, or they're in their mid 20s having their
Just like
life.
complete unks.
Yeah, but
Shout out Wubsington.
yeah, shout out Woes, we love you. Come back soon.
Where's he been?
He's been away from the server for a little bit. He's had some stuff going on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't really know what I'm doing with my life at this point, honestly. I'm just working a retail job at the moment. I do have plans to get up and do more things, maybe move, could go to a bigger city, stuff like that. But for the time being, I'm kind of content and I kind of just started this whole thing on the side and then it kind of spiraled into this crazy thing, which I think will be a fun thing to talk about. Definitely in a future podcast because I plan on having you back.
Oh, absolutely.
So I've asked you tons of stuff. Do you want to ask me some things now that we're kind of hitting the waning parts of this?
Sure. So I remember like the what would you say are like the biggest moments like when it comes to like I guess you running Pokemon brackets and the Metronome League. Like there's one I remember, but I want to see if you touch on it.
You're saying like overall moments I remember the most?
Hmm.
So my biggest moments towards the account more would be the first time I felt viralness or the fact I blew up because it took a few weeks before I had a video do really well, and then that skyrocketed my account to the fact where I'd get hundreds of followers a day, and it was like, oh my goodness, like something happened, and it was just a really cool moment to feel. And then that kind of led into some bigger accounts actually starting to follow me. Biggest one being Alpharad. He ended up following.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering.
Yep, that's the one I thought you were doing. Yeah. So funny enough, I
Mhm.
didn't even know he was. We were on the server one day. I think we were in a call, and
Shut up!
Wubs.
You had no idea who he was
No, I didn't know he.
as a
No,
Pokemon guy.
no, I didn't know he was following me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I've watched his videos and stuff, but I didn't know he was following me. And we were in VC, and I think it was Wubs was like, "Hey, you know Alpharad's following you?" Someone sent me a screenshot. I'm like, "No way." And it was like, "Oh, wait a second." And then the entire server started fangirling over it, which I thought was a really funny moment. When
Hmm.
obviously, like, I was a fan of his, but like I wasn't as big of a fan as half the people were because they're a little bit older than me. They got to experience him when he was really small. But that
Hmm.
personally was probably the coolest moment of that, especially talking to him and stuff because he's really nice stuff and like that. So it was really cool. Another big thing from it is just the way that I have meticulously formed a community on accident for like because I do a main series where every single Pokemon is in a bracket. We are about to the halfway point now, I would say, where we're starting to eliminate tons of teams. And then I do little side series on the side. Like the biggest thing is Fumbler's Cup, if you've been around the channel a good amount, where I never
Hmm.
explain the rules of it, but it has this very close knitted community where whenever Amon does bad, they will just summon it into the little league, and it's really cool how close this community is. And also, I realized that like I wanted to move stuff to TikTok because I only use Instagram, but there's so much lore to explain that I don't know how to move everything over there, if you know what I mean. Because I don't know if you still watch the videos as closely as you used to, but things got
Yeah,
a
not
lot
as
more
much,
complicated.
I don't think.
That's the thing though. Once people get on the server and they're like part of the league, they kind of drop off from the video. So it's like you're losing viewers, but also then you're just making better connections with them. So I think it's a good trade
Yeah,
off personally.
there's definitely like a delicate balance of it. It's also crazy. Like, how do you manage to like keep up with the pace? Because you output your videos so quickly.
Yeah. So recently I actually had a very big change, literally like 4 days ago, which I'll tell you about. But the way I used to do it was I would record them in batches. So on I have my days off split from work because I work full time. So then on one of the days I'll make all my main series videos, and then the night before the next day's uploads, I just will record the one-offs, the random battles, fumblers, little bug cup, little things like that, where I would do that. Because originally I was going to be like, okay, I'm going to post one video a day, and then I did the math and I realized I would take 3.5 years to do every Pokemon in a in a single elimination bracket. So I'm like, okay, let's move to I think I went to three now was what I did.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
I'm
still don't really like. I still can't really even like connect all the dots. Like, there's like you're up to like what battle 480,
yeah, I think 480 was today's because the next region just started, which every
but now
region
you have
is
like all this other stuff going on too. You have the Pup Cup, you have like the Fumbler Cup,
yeah. So
you had like the
basically,
Smoliv stuff and like the viewer suggestion one.
it's kind of a huge cluster of just tons of different random things. Where so like the Pup Cup, it is a bracket. Like so, I had somebody pick out I think 16 mons to all battle in it. But so the way the mini series work is fumblers is if Amanda's really bad and the comments ask it to, it gets dropped down and it has to fight, and whatever Mon loses continues. So if you go back through the 70 fumblers, you'll see like 10 different Mons who just literally suck, going from fumble main now to fumble dose is what we're at now. And every single mon doesn't have to be fum. That's just kind of what the wording that gets used for it. Something else really funny about that is since I have a lot of international, a lot of people ask what fumble means because they don't have it in their language, and it's cool seeing all that explained because I never explained how Fumble Cup worked. I've never done anything. Everybody
I
has
still don't fully
connected.
understand how Fumble Cup works, and you just like explained it to me.
Yeah, no, it's literally like I didn't have to. Barely made the rules as a joke. So what happened was Fluttermane lost, and I was like, okay, that'd be kind of funny. So I let
Fumble main.
so Fluttermane played small of, and then Fluttermane lost again. So then I was like, you know what? Let's just make a whole side series cup for this. And then Fumblemane went on a run where it lost like 10 straight really bad games before it ended up getting beaten, dethroned, as people are now nostalgic for it. But
Who's the main fumbler now?
it's Zapdos is the current one. Zapdos is sitting at I think maybe like 5 or 6, like 6, 7. It's like in that range where he's starting to become a really bad fumbler. But also, it takes is one self-destruct move from their Mon, and we're gonna get a brand new fumbler just like that. So it's kind of it's very difficult balance of the Mons because first of all, it has to be a Mon that's bad, but not too bad because you can get unlucky really likely in this. Like for example, Fluttermane, like it dropped some really bad battles. It lost to Smoliv. It lost
Yeah, I
to
lost to
Belt.
Smoliv in the
It,
Smoliv Cup, right?
yeah, that's where it went because it went to Smolko after losing. I'm like, you know what? I'll give Smoliv a chance. Or I'm sorry. So Fluttermane lost to Beldum in the second round of the region. And then I was like, okay, let's give it a chance. And then it lost again. And it's like, okay, I can't help you here. And then when it went on to lose like 8 or 9 whatever games it was in a row, it went on an amazing run, just in the way you don't want it to.
A legendary fumble.
Yeah, no, it went on a Linsanity run, as we will throw around here. But so when it comes to the stuff, that's the only two main series would have been the Fumblers Cup and then the main series. Everything else is just fun one-off battles that like community ask for or just fun things to see. Like I'll run double battles, triple battles, just all kinds of fun interactions because there's stuff I still see that will blow my mind or like a win I've never seen. Like one game that just recently happened. It was Ice Cube versus Zacian. Zacian went for a shadow sneak to win the game when Ice Cube was about to die, and then it went for a dive. The turn it was about to die, as it went
Damn.
and it went to win. That video got like 50K views. It popped off, but it was such a good battle, and it's crazy at this point now where somebody who's done close to 1,000 metronome battles just on Instagram, I've seen about every interaction. So it amazes me when I'm still able to see interactions that are brand new to me. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Do you ever feel almost like you don't really like get to control like when your video blows up because like you can't control when like something crazy or something hype happens. Do you ever feel almost like stuck in that sense?
Yeah, because it's really funny. My three biggest videos ever were probably three of my favorite. Funny enough, the way they blew up. So my number one video is this is one that brought me into the viralness as I have this micro influencer that I am. Would
Mm-hmm.
be was Embor versus Cypher. It was like battle 46, 48. It was in that range. It was literally didn't even hit 50 yet. Where it was a Parish song comeback win for Embor. It was gonna die to Parish song first, and it had a comeback win on the last turn where it did something like that. Well, it just see was it about a month ago? It hit 250K, and it was a really good battle. I feel like the algorithm on Instagram is really good at finding the good battles because every once in a while there's like, oh dang, this is a really good battle, and then I see it hit like 3,000 views.
Well, yeah, because everyone like comments on it after they watch.
Yeah, well, because the way it works is if you share or comment, the video will get shown up more and more, and the
Mm-hmm.
crazier battles end up doing it. So I'm actually at a point where it's like, where I want to fix battles, but I can't because, first of all, that'll hurt my integrity, but also the account will blow up more if I could. Like, if there's a way I could, like, script battles, that could make such funny things where, like, if I could pick the moves Metronome would pull, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, you could
I
have
think I think there might be like a happy medium there. Like I think if anyone ever like found out, like hypothetically, like, oh, you just like scripted all of these, then like it just, I don't know, I think it would upset a lot of people.
Yeah,
But
no, I
maybe
couldn't
there's
do
like
that.
I have two thoughts on that. First of all, I think like a sad truth of it is like it's the fact that you post so many videos that like adds to the integrity, because like sometimes it's like the Darmanitan versus Smoliv that I watched like yesterday, where turn one Darmanitan hits a guillotine, kills the Smoliv, and that's the entire video.
Those are so funny though. Those are some of my favorite. Is the turn one Okos. They actually get
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good
those are
views on
also
them.
hilarious.
Yeah, they're really funny because you either get a turn one like that, or you can get a 25 turn struggle battle.
Exactly. Maybe, you know what? Now that you have like the custom client, like the RPTL that we're using for the league, maybe you can create like a sub mode where Metronome can only pick like the most chaotic moves. Like make it so it can only pick like Guillotine and Fisher and Perish Song and like Dive and Shadow Sneak and
So
just
it,
like the hypest moves only.
so
And you
only
could make that
attacking
like its own
moves, no
series.
setup, no moves that do nothing. Just
Or make it so that like the only setup moves are like the strongest ones. Like only like Tail Glow and No Retreat.
I love No Retreat. It's really cool because it shows me tons of signature moves that I didn't realize were like that, and I
Hmm.
just know them from the draft league. Like I didn't know No Retreat was to it the Falcons line or something.
Yeah. The Phalanx, yeah. I didn't even like, I don't know, I didn't even realize that like Belch was a move. Ooh, here's one that blew up. Crocodile versus Sitite in battle 215. Oh yeah, that's a turn one Fisher kill. Yeah, you're right, and that blew up.
Yeah, no, they do really well. Well, it's kind of misleading though because once the videos are 5 seconds, it's gonna loop, and every 5 seconds is another watch though.
Yeah,
Is the
so I guess
thing.
that's also kind of misleading, yeah.
Yeah, but also those ones do get good comments on because it's like a whoa, or my favorite star, I didn't even sit in my seat yet, or they're like, I just bought my
Yeah.
ticket, or little funny things like that where that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's like only taking it from like an exclusively content angle. Like obviously you're very proud of like the community you've made around.
Yeah, no, it's a really fun community, and not just that. It's fun just seeing what happens because like end of the day, I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan because like I don't know a ton. Like everybody on this server is a much bigger Pokemon nerd, I could call it, where they're so much more knowledgeable than me because like
Hmm.
I'm more of a sports guy. I've always enjoyed that more. Like I'm literally watching the College World Series for baseball right now on my TV as we're doing that.
Ooh, is that on?
Yeah, it just started today.
Okay.
There's been so many weather delays. I like literally like I've seen like 6 or 7 games that have been delayed for hours. There also just been tons of rain all over the U.S.
Yeah. No, I'm also a big baseball fan and a big basketball fan. So it's like, but I am also knowledgeable enough about Pokemon that I know Berserk Gene is even something that exists. So,
Yeah, that's fair because I feel like I put almost all of my knowledge over into sports, and then
mhm.
I put tons into Pokemon because it's like I've grown up with it. It was just been in my life for so many years. But I also just I don't know how many starter Pokemon have certain abilities or the BST of Garchomp or just random stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I feel like there's only like one part of your brain that you can fill with like the compartmentalized info, and you probably filled it with like OBP and like RBI and like batting percentages and stuff,
Yeah,
or whatever sports you're into.
yeah, no, you just fill it with all that useless knowledge that will not ever be useful in this server because realistically, I've only talked to a handful of people that even really watch sports. Most people are from different countries, so like they watch soccer or they just love video games instead.
Oh my god, Ladybug and Shelmet beat Mewtwo and Arceus?
Yeah, that was so when I go
Wow.
this
I'm
is
surprised
a
that didn't blow up more.
you know, it did really good. How much was it? How much is that?
It's at 56K right now.
That's pretty good. I That's probably a top 10 video right there, realistically. So, whenever I go to upload videos, there's sometimes I am really excited. And I remember how excited I was hit upload on that video because I feel like the music went really well. I was like, "You know what? I'm going to go some crazy font." And I was just like, this video is a lot of fun." And I was like, "I can't wait for people to see it." and then it ended up doing really well, which makes me so happy. Is when I'm excited for a video that happened, and then it blows up.
Yeah.
Especially because that was a longer video too. You had to sit there for it.
Oh, I remember this one. This was the Seadra versus Palkia. That was a great one.
Oh, talking about that, we had fan art made of Seadra and stuff drawn by people. Editor Ibs, if you're still watching this far in, can you put a photo of it up for the YouTube listeners? But anyway, so Pink on the server, he actually drew fan art of Kingdra killing Ogadogi over a fallen Seadra. And it was a really cool this thing he just drew up. And it was just showing me how close the community was at this point. And this was also like 6 months, 6 months ago too. So like this is when
Yeah.
it started blowing up. But it was
And there's
really
like
cool.
there's like lore developing too, like with the Ladybone, the Shelmet.
Yeah, so that was in the Bug Cup season 1. They ended up winning the entire thing, and so then afterwards, everybody's like, "Hey, give them this." So they played extra battles after the season, and they just started playing other mons. Before I ended up ending it on a way people didn't like, or I had them fight each other, which was it was really messed up thinking about in retrospective.
Oh, the lore fans did not like that
Yeah,
one.
no. So then I actually just brought it back. We're actually in season 2 right now of the Little Bug Cup, where I brought some more teams in, and I'm doing double elimination on it. And they lost in the first round of winners, so they are actually, I think they're in the third round of losers right now, trying to battle back up. I actually have not recorded all the battles yet, so I'm kind of excited to see if they can make a run. But there's some really good teams like Larvesta and Sizzle or whatever that Scolipede. No, not
Sizzlipede.
Sizzlipede. Yeah, like because I kept them together since they were season 1 champions, and then I randomized all the other ones, and then Larvesta and Sizzlipede got together. So it
Yeah.
kind of makes accidental duo, just like how Wurmple and Weedle were also given together as duos.
Mhm.
It
Wow,
makes
okay, so I just scrolled down far enough to the Embor versus Scyther video. A couple things I noticed. First of all, you don't even like mention Metronome on there. So like the top comment is like, "Oh, this is an unfair fight. Wait, are they only using Metronome?"
Yeah, because that was back right when the channel started. Let's see, how many weeks ago was that comment? Because that guy,
Battle 48. This was 37 weeks ago.
yeah, that was a while ago. 'Cause yeah, that was right when it started. That was realistically maybe three or so weeks into the my account when that video came out, and it blew up. Like I've never been a person who do stuff. Obviously, when I was little, I used to make skits in my basement with my little sister or little tiny things
Mhm.
like that where, you guys will never see the light of day. I'll probably need to private that stuff eventually if I ever do get bigger. But it's really cool seeing my first just form of virality where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting tons of comments, tons of followers." Like literally every time I go to one of my breaks at work, I would see another 70 followers. And it was like, what in the world? It was really
Yeah, and
cool.
I hope that growth continues for you, dude.
Well, yeah, but also that leads into the sour truth of it where I got the high from that, where afterwards it kind of made me a little sad once I got back to reality, where now I get like 20, 25 a day. Which, I mean, I can't get mad. That's still pretty good, and I get great views. But also, it's like you think back to the good old days, I could call it, of when I first blew up, and it's like, oh, I wish I had that again.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you already caught lightning in a bottle, like, enough times to make a community, so I guess that's really enough.
Yeah, no, literally that one video. I didn't need a single other video to blow up. How many views was that Embor video at now?
It was at 140K.
That one it was at
No, it was
140.
higher than that. It was like 350. Let me scroll back up to it.
'Cause I
I was
remember
just
when it
sorry, I was leaving a hate comment on your first ever video.
I just got
Oh
it
my
on my
god.
phone.
Okay, so before that even there was Snivy versus Glastrier.
Yeah, that game actually has controversy, and I still don't know how.
Why is
Because
there controversy
go
around
read the
it?
comments. So
Cuz it
apparently
blew up.
Snivy shouldn't have survived that explosion.
Let me check this right now. I'm going to pull up the calculator. We're about to
I'm
fact check this live.
I'm really confused because that was also back before I even realized that like I should change the abilities or I could even touch that stuff because like I never used Showdown too much. And I was like,
Mhm.
it was just a video, guys. I don't know. And then they're like, and one of the comments I'll never forget is like, if this is rigged, I wonder what else is. And it's like, it's Metronome.
Okay, so this says that it should be a guaranteed one hit KO. But that's assuming max IVs though. Let me see
I
something.
don't touch anything though. So everything's whatever Showdown's defaulted.
No, yeah, wow, it should. I wonder what happened there.
I've
Maybe it
literally
was like just maybe you just like gave it an EVL item for.
no, I've never given an item in a battle before.
Because if it was holding an EVLite, then it's like a range of 92% to 109. So that would make sense.
I didn't give any. I've never given an item in the main series before. I have only used.
I w- so I wonder what happened.
I don't think I've ever used items in the actual in any of my battles besides posting draft league stuff. It's like I think I've had Cam look at it and a lot of people, and we don't know why it didn't die because like I generally do not know. Maybe Showdown's like algorithm was slightly different because I know RPTL actually gets slightly different damage calcs than what the calculator says. But this was also long before that.
Yeah. Yeah, the comments are like, how did bro survive? Yeah, there was this one guy and he was like, I don't know, either it had like max EVs by accident or something else. What you know what maybe happened? Maybe maybe you clicked like the suggested like stat spread on both of them by accident.
What do you maybe?
You know how
But
like when you put in do you know if you put in like one copy of metronome or like made every move
I only put one copy of Metronome in. I only type it in the
Oh,
first
okay.
slot.
Huh.
Because if you type it in 4 times, it doesn't work, but then somebody DM me and said it does work. So I don't know. Like at least in the past when me and Wubs have tried it, you if you type it in 4 times, they all share PP. So I'm like, I'm just gonna type it in once. But I generally, for the life of me, do not know why Snivy survived. Generally, because I didn't touch anything. Because that was back when I just started it. Where
Where's
you can also check, watching the video that is live because that was back before I recorded the replays. Because the
Mhm.
text box would pop up, and I did that for like 30 something battles where someone said, "Hey, you should do it this way."
Yeah, I could see like the metronome text box comes up
Yeah,
really
no, that
quickly.
was for the first like 35 ish videos. I had that.
All right, I'm trying to figure this out right now. So, I'm workshopping here. It has 5% HP left. If there was zero IV, zero EV attack Glastrier into max HP EV's Snivy with no item, the only way it survives it if it has like 2% HP left. But if it's holding an Eviolite, if it holds an Eviolite and it's normal max IVs for both of them, then it could be left with anywhere between 8% and 0% health left. I don't know. The only way it makes sense is if it does have an Eviolite. So I don't know what the hell happened. Maybe like you copied it over from something or like maybe you just like instinctually gave it an Eviolite.
Which is weird because I don't battle on Showdown. You can check my main account, like the one I originally used for battles. I've only ever played one random battle, Gen 9, and that was
Yeah,
it.
that's weird. But like
Like,
either way, I don't think that means you like rig everything on your account.
yeah, no, it's something I look back to because my honest guess was either I misclicked something or Showdown just was bugged. Because I remember I saw a video where you could reverse engineer their algorithm and you were able to like make certain moves get pulled from metronome or something, and it was a crazy old video that ended up getting patched like a few weeks after it came out. But I wonder if like there was just a glitch in the calculations before they like updated it.
Hmm.
But like that video, I still question it to this day, where it's like I've done everything the exact same since day one. Only thing that's changed is the quality of it. I don't know how.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
the Snivy that defied logic.
We could. Oh, I got a fun idea, Papple.
What?
We could do an unsolved mystery series. You want to narrate it, or we
Ooh,
go? How
yes,
does that sound? And like our first case is going to be the Snivy, and we just try to figure out why, like a full research thing into it.
absolutely.
That sounds like a great
I
idea.
would love that.
Let's write that down.
We would need to like crowdsource that though, or I'd have to go through like every single one of your videos, make sure the calculations check out.
Yeah, I think they will slightly
We,
differ in RPTL though, because I think it
mhm.
might just be a different damage calc from
Yeah,
which one you're
I wouldn't be
using.
surprised if it was. So let's see. We could do that one. We could do like the mystery behind the exploding Wubs team.
Another good case study would be Gliscor. In the 2 seasons he was used, he was very suicidal. Do you remember in season 1, Sheeps?
Oh my god, I do
In
remember that.
season 2, it kept exploding. I think Chris had it.
Yeah, I was told by Chris not to trust Gliscor.
See, yeah, it has every season it's been in, it's killed itself multiple times. But yeah, I think we came up with a great idea there and unsolved mysteries for this stuff, and you can even
Yeah?
branch it into real Pokemon too.
Huh. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really fun idea. It only took us an hour and 45 minutes, but we came up with something.
That's all we needed.
Yeah, I apologize, Ibs. I hope you watch the whole thing and edit this. So, with that, guys, I think this is a great spot to end the first episode of the podcast. Papple, thank you for coming on. I had a great time. I know the first half of the podcast was nothing but your metronome stuff. And then, second, we kind of got more personal and we talked more about
No,
me.
absolutely. This was a great experience.
It was a lot of fun. I can't wait to have you back because I got some more stuff we'll have to talk about. We'll have to start working on our unsolved mystery series and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you, and I will see you next time.
Peace out.